Hey, Mr. Grumpy Gills. When life gets you down, you know what you gotta do?
I don't want to know what you gotta do.
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. What do? We swim, swim.
Dory, no singing.
Dory. I love to swim in.
Dory.
When you want to swim, you want
See,
to
I'm gonna get stuck now with that song now.
Sorry.
Welcome to Successful Dropout. This podcast is for the outliers, the innovators, the rebels, those that dare to dream and act on their dreams. I'm your host, Kylan Ginger. Join me as we find out what it takes to drop out, grind, and succeed. What's up, fam squad? I've got some pretty exciting news. If you listen to the podcast much, you know we've been building a pretty vibrant community of truly extraordinary people who have committed to an unconventional route through life. The Successful Dropout audience has been growing a lot, and I get a lot of people reaching out to me now with all sorts of questions regarding education, dropping out, opting out, entrepreneurship, resources, networking, etc. So much so that I decided it was time to create a more accessible community on Facebook so that we can all ask and answer these kinds of questions together, as well as celebrate our successes and encourage each other during inevitable adversity. So I've created a closed Facebook group, and I want to invite you to join it. If you follow Successful Dropout, if you resonate with our philosophy and want to help me grow this thriving community, go to successfuldropout.com/group. This community is for the rebels, the outliers, the innovators, the doers, and those who dare to dream and act on their dreams. If you're a dropout, an opt-out, if you're thinking about doing one of those things, if you're a parent, even if you aren't any of those things and you graduated school, I want to invite you to join. All that matters is that you resonate with the Successful Dropout philosophy and that you enter the group with the intention to provide value to the other members and not just receive value yourself. Again, go to successfuldropout.com/group to request admission. Once you're a part of the group, introduce yourself and get involved, and I'll see you there. What is up, Successful Dropouts? Get stoked because today on the show we have Seth Hymes. Seth is the founder and CEO of In-Demand Career Training. In-Demand Career Training teaches future entrepreneurs how to get a job in the rapidly growing field of digital marketing. A graduate of NYU's film school, Seth found digital marketing in 2014 after successfully doing marketing for another company. Not long after that, he quit his job and began working for clients independently. Since then, he has created the Digital Marketing Career Blueprint, which teaches students the in-demand skills in digital marketing from the ground up, as well as how to put together resumes, talk to hiring managers, and get the job that you want. Seth has not only found great success with in-demand career training, but has also helped literally hundreds of students get interviews and jobs or become entrepreneurs themselves. So Seth, man, that's the intro I have for you. But tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do. I know it's been a while. We've been trying to get this to happen for a while now.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to be here. My background, as it said there, my background is actually in film production, and I actually wrote a book called Film Fooled, which explains why film school is a complete waste of time and money. And in the process of writing that book, I realized that college is really a waste of time and money. And this was years after I graduated. So that's what drew me to your podcast and your website. I become much more interested in self-education, entrepreneurship, learning in the real world and learning outside of this traditional, BS. And the reason is because so my background, how did I get into digital marketing? About 7 years ago, I was unemployed art school grad. I had this fancy degree, complete. I still have that degree. And I actually filmed a little comedy video where I got into a fight with my diploma because I was like, what? It beats the crap out of me because I'm like, I was really frustrated, and I'd worked a lot of jobs, but in school they don't teach you anything about money. I'd worked, I waited tables, I I was a massage therapist for a few years, believe it or not. I delivered pizzas, and I even worked as an accountant. And I didn't like really any of these things I was doing. What I didn't realize is that I was an entrepreneur, but I didn't know it. I was just felt like I was kind of a screw up. And then what happened is in 2010 or 11 is a friend of mine took me to a seminar by a guy named Joel Bauer, who started to talk about internet marketing and websites. And it just kind of blew my mind. I had a matrix, like, aha, whoa moment where the whole world of internet marketing opened up to me. And I just became obsessed with learning about how to build websites and search engine optimization and Google and affiliate marketing and email marketing. And then one day, actually, I took the book I'd written about film school called Film Fooled, and I put it up as an ebook on one of my websites. And somebody bought it. Some stranger bought my ebook, and it was like a drug high.
The blindfold is lifted.
Yeah, I got such a rush from that passive income. That's when I was like, I'm addicted. I need to figure out how to make more. I want to make more money this way. And so I built a course on filmmaking for young people to kind of teach them what I learned and also to encourage them to skip film school. It's called Film School Secrets. And I put together this boot camp course called Film School Secrets, where I was like, here's how you network with real filmmakers. Here's how you get on real film sets. Here's all the crap they don't teach you in school. And that course, it did really well for me at the time, but I mean, it wasn't enough money for me to live on. So like a lot of entrepreneurs and people who are internet marketing, my dream was to make, 6 figures or 5 figures, and all this. And I was making maybe an extra $1,000 a month, which was great, but obviously I couldn't, live on that. So I thought, I felt kind of bad about that. But then what happened is I was actually working at this telemarketing job. That was terrible. And I saw a posting on Craigslist for an account technician job. And it just said stuff. It's just like, do you like working with Google and Facebook and ads and stuff? And I thought, well, I don't have any background in this. I don't have any experience, but I've been learning it myself. So I threw together a little resume and submitted it. And they got in touch with me within about an hour.
What?
And they interviewed me that week and hired me with like 2 days later. And
wow.
This is when I was like basically unemployed except working these crappy, telemarketing jobs. So I had this job at a digital marketing agency in 2011, and they handed me about $1 million worth of annual ad spend. So about $100 and something thousand a month ad spend. They handed me these 30 accounts, and I'm like,
holy cow,
film dude who out of work, never worked in advertising. But I had enough of an understanding and that fire about digital marketing where they basically trained me on the job with what I didn't know about Google AdWords. And I sat right next to the company's VP, and he helped me learn how to manage these accounts. And what happened is I worked there for about a year or two. I can't remember exactly. And it was great. I was really happy to have a job. I didn't realize I was actually being underpaid because the skill set was so in demand. And I had never, I didn't bother with things like LinkedIn, but I put my profile up on LinkedIn and I started getting like hit up by recruiters. What? And within a couple of years, basically I went from making in the high 30s, which is this is good for an entry level job, to 60, and then within 3 years I was making like 75,000 plus bonuses, over 100,000 at this private company.
So a company you moved to after the first one?
Yeah, it was when you're doing digital marketing, you can work for an agency, which is where you have like a bunch of clients, or some private companies will hire you in-house. So I worked actually at a drug rehab center, believe it or not. And that was interesting in and of itself. It's a very, very competitive market. And a lot of companies will hire you to be their in-house digital marketer because they don't want to deal with outsourcing it. They want someone on premises. So I kind of looked up, and like my life was, my financial life really was a complete 180 from what it had been a few years before. And I had all these opportunities. And that was fantastic, except I'm not built for a day job. Like, I'm sure a lot of your listeners can identify. I'm like, I think it's like being a mutant in the Marvel universe. You have this thing inside of you, and you like kind of ashamed of it. You don't fit in, and then like hopefully at some point it like blossoms into like X-ray vision or something cool. So
it's a great analogy, by the way.
Yeah, I just thought I was like, can't stay at these day jobs. What's wrong with me? I need like shock therapy so that I stop wanting to quit all these jobs. And to make it worse, I kept getting more job offers. I actually got poached from one company. I was working at the rehab place.
Poked.
I got poached. Poached is what
poached. I thought you meant like a Facebook poke.
Yeah, I got
some company just pokes you.
No,
hey, you want to come work for us?
No. Well, pretty much because this woman, this recruiter, she came after me really aggressively, and she was selling me on her client, who was this guy who had actually founded an inkjets company. He was younger than me actually, and he'd sold his company when he was 24 for $17 million, and now he wanted to start a new company. He wanted an in-house digital marketing person. So she pushed that really hard, and then I met the guy, and we really liked each other. And I worked there. I jumped out of one job to another job, the same salary. And then I worked there for like a month, and I realized I was like, I can't do it. I can't do a day job anymore. I'm going to have to, I have to jump ship.
Now really quick, when you say, working these day jobs at like a digital marketing firm or agency, did you not have the freedom to kind of set your own hours? Like, was it actually like a 9 to 5 and like you have to show up to a certain place? And
yeah, most of the jobs that are at these agencies they're 9 to 5 jobs.
And you have to like physically be there? You
do. I mean, there's definitely more flexibility in digital marketing jobs than in other jobs. So I have students who've gotten jobs where they have like, they can work from home 2 days a week, or and even when I worked at the agency, they're cool as long as you get your work done. Is usually the case. They're not like, if you're here you're here at 9:02 Smith, that's you're fired. It's like you give you a little more responsibility and treat you maturely like an adult.
But it's still kind of stifling.
It's still a day job, and but it's for I can get into that. I mean, the environment of some of these agency jobs is totally different than a typical work environment. There's usually mostly younger people. There's, often ping pong tables and, one of my jobs, we had a ping pong table, catered lunches. It creates a different environment inside the day job.
And are you still actually an employee or a contractor?
Oh, I'm not an employee now.
I mean, no, but back, when you were working with the.
Oh yeah, no, you're usually an employee.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there are contract positions. I mean, that's the cool thing about this field is that there's so many options. I still get hit up by recruiters, and sometimes they need an in-house person for a private company. Sometimes it's a, full-time job, a salary job at a company. Sometimes it's a 6-month contract.
That's what I was wondering. Just because I hear digital marketing and I think, well, you could do that, anytime, anywhere from a laptop. And so I just wondered.
Well, you can. So one of the things, and I get that question a lot, which is say, if you freelance, so I have my own clients, and when you get your own clients, whether through your own networking or through a site like Upwork, or just, generally meeting people, it's one of the easiest services to sell. Mm-hmm. If you're not a salesperson, I've had clients or people come to me without trying to push it on them because everybody has a website and everybody needs traffic.
Yeah.
And if you know how to get people traffic and money, they will pay you. And that's the equation. It's not like being a personal trainer or something where you have to kind of be like, okay, we're going to get you inspired and we're going to get you pumped up. It's like, I know how to make Google work and make you money. You want money?
Yeah.
And then it's like, I've never had to do a hard sell on anyone. And my students who come in, a lot of them, they're not salespeople. I just say, just be enthusiastic and just be honest about what you can do for someone. And
let the results kind of speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to to story now. You were poached hard by this gal, or poked.
Whatever. Poked and poached. And basically, what happened is I had my own clients at that point. But what I did, my real passion in the beginning, what I said before with my course, was like when I sold my book online. Mm-hmm. I love writing. I love teaching. I love, helping people, and information products is like, that's the way to go, I think. Mm-hmm. So I said, I'm getting so many job offers, and I'm sitting here like, I don't want a job. and I've got so many job offers. I'm looking at the news, and I'm like, the news is always saying that the economy sucks. There's no jobs, and I'm sitting here thinking, there are so many jobs over in this area that nobody knows about. I actually call it the most in-demand career nobody knows about. And my colleagues, we laugh about it because they all get hit up by recruiters too. And these are, my buddy Mike, I talk about him a lot. He's a former Marine, never went to college, and he is doing fantastic. He actually got hired from LA for a company in Denver via a phone interview. They never even met him in person before they hired him for a $60K job. So there's a lot of demand. So I said, what if I could, I don't want a job, but lots of people do. Why don't I teach those people how to get a job? So that's when I created Digital Marketing Career Blueprint. And I basically said, I know exactly what to teach people that's not being taught in these other courses. Because there's a lot of these courses, I see them out there, digital marketing. They teach either too much technical stuff, too much theoretical stuff, and they don't teach you how to actually get a job or to get a client. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I want to create like a one-stop shop for this, and I bet it'll work. Yeah. And I start, I launched it in like 2016, and I thought it'd be great if I get a few students, and it really just took off. And it took off because the course is fun because I have to make things fun in order to explain them, but people started getting jobs, like in just amazing stories. I mean, people 19, 20 years old getting these, $40,000 a year entry level jobs. And what I teach people is just get an entry level position, because you can leverage your entry level job, even if it's only paying like $30,000 a year. You can leverage that into a much higher paying job within about a year in this field. So yeah, man, it's just it's been great, and that kind of. That is my story to this point. I hope that wasn't too roundabout.
No, that's perfect. It's an incredible story, man. A couple things I especially like what you were saying towards the beginning, and just so I know you've mentioned a couple times, I'm not a dropout, and it's like we have people that aren't dropouts on the show, because typically they come on with a story like yours and they're like, I wish I would have dropped out. And I just think that's valuable for our listeners to hear, especially somebody getting an arts degree or going to school for videography. I was literally just on the phone for an hour with one of our listeners who's starting up his own media company, basically with videography, creating videos for companies and then marketing those videos to promote that company, build the brand, stuff like that. And he doesn't have a degree in it. And so he was just telling me about he's been doing a lot of work for free for various clients to kind of build up a portfolio. And he just got his first paying gig, and he's stoked about it. And I'm stoked for him. And yet he didn't go to school for it. He's just jumping in and doing it. And then literally right before that conversation, all of this just happened today. There's somebody that I know on Facebook who posted, he's like, my dream job would be to do, like video editing, or be like a cameraman at like a sports game, all this stuff around videography. And he's like, but I don't want to go back to school. And I would comment, I was like, dude, you don't have to go to school for any of those things. And he was like, just, yeah, you do. And we started this conversation. So it's like, talking to you today, it's like what I've been kind of the discussions I've been having all day are around
video. That's funny. That is funny. And it's true, man. I mean, if I was thinking, if there's any field where a degree is a waste, it's a criminal waste of time and money, it's film and video production, especially in 2017. I mean, you could have made an argument. I always tell people say things like, oh, Martin Scorsese went to film school. Oliver Stone went to film school. And I say, yeah, Martin Scorsese went to film school in 1967.
Yeah.
Back then, that was the only way that you were going to learn how to even just shoot a film. There was no video cameras. There was no YouTube. And if Martin Scorsese or George Lucas were a college student nowadays, there's no way in hell any of those guys would have gone to school, because because what makes a good filmmaker or videographer is being innovative and being a hustler and thinking for yourself.
Yep.
And they wouldn't have submitted themselves to these ridiculous curriculums. And it's silly. It's silly, though. But it's part of the brainwashing of the culture, which is why I like your message.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, my little brother, he's an audio engineer, sound producer. He did the intro for this podcast and a bunch of other stuff. He's 18 years old, and he's talking with pros right now and getting his music licensed and stuff.
There you go, man.
My best friend, who I'm staying at his house right now temporarily, is a very successful videographer, the most popular one in town. They do wedding videography and then commercial videography. Shout out to Articulate Film Company. But again, all self-taught, and they just make incredible videos because he just has a passion for it. Anyways, but I do have a question though about what you're talking about, actually, about digital marketing. It's probably going to sound naive because I don't know much about digital marketing, but I think probably there's some of our audience who don't know much either. It seems like, because like I feel like I don't know what the difference is between, I guess maybe a social media marketer is just kind of under the umbrella of digital marketing, but it seems like everybody's like a social media marketer or trying to be one nowadays. And I know you've kind of been saying the opposite, but I've always thought that it's kind of saturated, at least in terms of like everybody kind of wants to do it because it seems like easy money, right? You're just kind of running Facebook ads from your couch on your computer, and you can make six figures. And so my question for you is, is that true? Why or why not? And what really sets like an actual, like a great digital marketer? What sets them apart from just like an average digital marketer?
Oh, well, those are a couple of different questions. Well, first of all, as far as saturation goes, I invite you to go on LinkedIn or Indeed and just do a search for digital marketing. And you're going to see usually about 20,000 results every day. In fact, I think LinkedIn might have changed their algorithm because I just did a search and it's giving me 70,000 results right now. Jeez. Which to me seems, but see, here's the thing. I've actually gone through on these Indeed searches because people email me about this, and I've gone through like, oh, okay, the first page, the second page, maybe third page. No, I was like, I've gone through to like listing number 700, and they're still there because companies, they need this. They need this service, and there aren't enough people doing it. And even if you have an anecdotal experience of like, oh, it sounds like so easy. First of all, it's not quite as easy as that. And that's one thing that does differentiate my course from, there's a few courses out there that are very scammy. Right. There's one actually I think called socialmediajobs.com or something. And it's like, hey, have you heard of Facebook? Well, all you have to do is post things on Facebook and get paid $100,000 a year.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the stuff I see all the time. No.
First of all, like any profession, you have to present yourself professionally no matter what you do. And like any profession too, there's a phenomenon in entrepreneurship and in business that you probably experience. Like you're in like the 1% yourself because you took an idea and executed it. You executed it into a blog and into a podcast, and you stuck with it, and you're growing something. Yeah. Now, how many people have had the idea of doing a podcast, and how many people actually do it? It's a very small percentage. So it's one of those things where, it sounds like everybody's doing this, but people who actually learn how to do it the right way and implement it is much less than the people who think it sounds like too good to be true, or I just lost my train of thought. Where did it go? No. And the second thing is, my course actually doesn't. So there's three components to digital. Actually, there's actually more than three components to digital marketing. I have a free introductory course, which is what my indemandcareer.com site takes people through. It's a 40-minute explanation of these different jobs, so you can start to see the how deep the landscape is. But
different jobs in digital marketing.
Yes. Because that is one big misconception, actually. So people hear social media marketing, and actually social media marketing is like the third thing I teach. It's like not even, it's not even secondary. Google AdWords is the most in-demand platform. and here's where people have a disconnect, because most people are on Facebook or some form of social media, but most people do not click on the ads on AdWords. So where is all this money coming from? Mm-hmm. Google makes like $100 billion a year. Everybody knows that. Most people don't realize that almost all of that money is from ads that show up on Google searches. So when you do your search for hotels in Cancun or digital cameras or anything, and you see all those ads at the top and the bottom, and you probably don't click on them very much, right?
Right.
Right. Most people I talk to say, "Oh, I never click on those." Well, guess what? Somebody's clicking on those because they're clicking $100 billion worth of clicks every year.
Gosh.
So every time somebody clicks on one of those ads, Google gets paid for that click, and the advertiser is paying for that click. The reason it's such a huge business is because it's one of the most precise ways of targeting a customer, because you know that this person just typed in hotel in Cancun. You know they want a hotel in Cancun. There's no guesswork as an advertiser.
Right.
So we would call that, that's keyword targeting, but it's a very powerful way to target your consumer. So I would say every company, but millions of companies are using AdWords, and they range from huge companies like Best Buy to the car dealership in your city to a pizza shop down the street that's spending only $500 a month on AdWords. But there's millions of companies that are spending money, and those companies need people to manage that advertising. And that's essentially what I was doing at the digital marketing agency. I had 30 clients, and they were all advertising on AdWords. And that is the skill set that's the heart of what I teach is paid. My title would be paid search specialist. When it comes to Facebook, when you said running Facebook ads, say there's a big difference between what people think of as social media marketing, which would be, I'm just going to post a picture of somebody eating an ice cream sandwich. Yay. That's not very sophisticated. Facebook advertising is extremely sophisticated. It's about as sophisticated as AdWords. And it's also just one of the most powerful ways to target people, because, with Facebook ads, you can target people by their age, by their demographics, their zip code, their interests. You can target people who are about to get married, people who own a home. It's unreal the amount of data that Facebook has. And a lot of small business owners still don't understand the power of this. So being a paid doing paid Facebook ads is a huge skill set. That is also something most people don't realize when they think of this whole social media thing, because mostly what they're thinking about is people posting, come to our posting pictures and stuff on Facebook randomly, organically.
Right.
So paid search is the heart of what I teach, and that's where most of these jobs, those 20,000 jobs come into play. And the second thing is SEO, or search engine optimization, which a lot of people have heard of, which is, making adjustments to websites and to a person's a site's web presence such that it gets ranked higher in the organic results from Google. And this also applies to YouTube. There's a lot of different avenues to basically bring, to be an expert to help a company or an individual get traffic to their website. So it's definitely more sophisticated and more involved than, just posting random posts on Facebook. However, that said, it's not so sophisticated that you can't learn it. And that's why I got into this, because I'm not a coder. I know some HTML, but I could not do like C++ or any of that stuff. I'm not an engineer, but I have an analytical enough of a brain, and I'm creative enough where I could learn how to do this stuff. And that's what my students are finding. I was like, if you're smart enough to get the internet, and you you don't have to even have been like an A English student or an A math student, but if you can read a spreadsheet and understand percentages, this ad's getting a conversion rate of 10% and this ad's getting a conversion rate of 1%. Which ad is better? It's not really that, it's sophisticated to a point, but it's not unlearnable. And that's why people in the course are able to learn these things enough about this to get interviews within weeks of taking the course.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it, man. I mean, shoot, I might have to sign up for this course because I know nothing about that stuff. I mean, as far as with Successful Dropout, I'm literally for a year and a half, I've just been creating content and pushing it out there. And 100% of any traffic I get, anything like that, is just all organic or by chance, basically. Yeah. I mean, I have a couple plugins and stuff on the WordPress site that kind of help me with some SEO stuff, but I don't really know what I'm doing. It literally gives me like a red light if it's not SEO friendly or a green light if it is. So I just make sure it's all green lights. I don't know what I'm doing, but which it would be interesting. I mean, let's say, Seth, if I wanted to get more traffic to my website via Facebook ads, I mean, what would be if you were me and I just wanted to get 100 more visitors per day just using Facebook ads, maybe advertising from our Successful Dropout page? I mean, what are some of the things that you would look for? What are some of the things that you would do, I guess, just as a bit of a demonstration of how this practically works?
A free consult?
You caught me.
Yeah, very clever.
I can pay you later.
I've looked at your Facebook page and I've thought you should definitely have more of an audience. So your audience and my audience are kind of similar, and I found I actually haven't really used Facebook ads personally on this course. I've found affiliate marketing. In my case, I like partnering with like-minded individuals. I may actually connect you with a couple of people. That's what you've done organically is great, but from a Facebook perspective, you can really pick one of your good interviews or one of your good posts, and it's really all about who you're targeting. So you really the thing about Facebook targeting. So here's an example. When I was promoting my film course, I had a mentorship program. I actually still do. I just put it on hold because I didn't have time. I wanted to get people into my free webinar, and I was targeting people who were interested in filmmaking. Like, I did a very broad campaign, and that traffic really converted into leads. People, Facebook was great for the interests. I would also target people who were fans of, indie film websites that I knew about.
Like only film lovers would kind of know about.
Yeah, like
people really into it.
Yeah. Film Riot, filmmaking stuff, film blogs, and those people converted great because it was so targeted. And it was a hobby, it was an interest. The only thing about your particular brand and mine is when you're you could probably do some tests where you target people who didn't go to college, but you might want to target people who did go to college. You probably want to look for similar pages or people with similar messages. Like, I know James Altucher is a big time blogger, and he is a very anti-college message. So you'd probably want to run some ads targeting his audience.
Oh, interesting.
I would also actually, given your age and like how you've been able to appeal to younger people, I would hit high schoolers with it, because you can target people like 15 years old. I think it's 13 is the minimum. But yeah, you can target people in high school, and write some posts that speak to your message, and boost them and track your you have to get the conversion tracking to figure out what kind of conversions you want to track. There's a lot you can be doing. At the very least, I think you could be getting more likes to your page with a like campaign.
Yeah, I did a couple of those once, and I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right, man. I need to get my head into that space a little more, or just hire somebody. Maybe we'll talk after this. But the other question I had is, so for people listening, who is, like, what kind of person do you think is going to do best going through the digital marketing career blueprint? Like, what kind of person do you think digital marketing is for, just for people listening?
That's a great question, because now I've had so many students. I should probably put together like an avatar, because I've noticed a lot of trends. But when I made the course, I was like, well, people like me who, I'm not a marketer. I was a film guy. My passion, most of my students have another kind of passion in their life, but they also really resonate with digital marketing because it's not some kind of dry thing. It involves creativity, and it involves trying to figure stuff out, because like whether it's advertising or, you know, building links for SEO, you're really using a lot of strategy. So I tell people that if you're creative and analytical, you'll probably like it. The people I get in my course, I get people, usually they do tend to be younger, under 25. I've definitely had a few students over 30, but most of them are under 25. And they're either people, because my big affiliate is Matt Tran of Engineered Truth. And I get a lot of people who are out of college and they've realized that they've gotten screwed, and they realize they need skills. They need something, and they're more open-minded. Funny enough, a lot of the college students are not as open-minded because they're still in that bubble of delusion, I call it, where they really believe that when they graduate, there's just going to be jobs waiting for them. But I also get a lot of high schoolers emailing me, and they ask me, you know, oh, am I too young to get into this? I'm not 18 yet. And I tell those people it's absolutely not too early to get into this. You know, AdWords, technically you have to be 18 to run a campaign, but, you know, you can have your parents set it up. The other stuff like doing SEO and social media, and even just understanding, you know, what I teach in the course. I mean, I teach a lot more in the course than just how to get a job. I teach people, I really put more in there than I'm charging for. I teach people about affiliate marketing and, you know, creating a funnel, email marketing. Just having a handle on any of these things gives you a lot of power, especially if you're younger. And I actually was going to do a video called How to Make Money as a Teenager, because I've Googled that topic, or YouTube searched it, and I found that most of those videos are outdated as hell. It's ridiculous. Like, there's some guy in his 60s or 50s, and he's like, well, if you want to make money, you should mow people's lawns and open a lemonade stand. And I'm like, it's 2017, dude, you're young. Get on the internet. And if you're like in high school and you become that guy, the person that knows Google, Facebook, social media, the cool thing is, one of the problems you usually would have when you're younger, when I was younger, is, you know, people don't take you seriously because, oh, you're just a kid. But nowadays, youth is associated with technology and being savvy. So I guess some of these, you know, if someone's 17 or 18 years old, you walk into the local business and say, hey, I'm going to help you get more, you know, leads, traffic, and sales, and you know what you're talking about because you've learned it, they're probably going to listen to you. And I've had students that young get clients and get jobs because that's the culture now. It's not like, you know, the person, the 50-year-old running the store knows that they don't understand the internet, and they'll look to a younger person as an authority. Whereas, you know, back, 20 years ago, they might have said, oh, Sonny, just stay in school. Now, that's not to say that if you're older, you can't do. Actually, I was 33 when I got into this field. So, but it's definitely, like I said, for me, what I felt like was, I was a good student. I liked English classes. I like movies. I like reading. I like writing. To me, I felt like this career was perfect for somebody who's not quite geeky enough to be an engineer or a programmer, and you're not quite crazy enough to just be an artist. You're like not going to just go out there to Soho and just try to sell your canvases of art. It's kind of a, it works for a lot of people. There's really I think it works for I was saying English majors. I was actually going to target English majors for a while, or people maybe who were inclined towards English, and say, if you can write, you can make money, but not with your English degree. Just, you have to learn how to use your words, as a copywriter, or, combine it with these marketing skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What do you think is the average salary or, per year that your students are getting paid out of the gate once they do get a job?
I mean, I've had students get as, I would say the average is between 35 and 45,000, which is incredible.
Yeah, seriously.
Especially since some of these, a lot of my students do not have degrees. A lot of them do, but could not get a single interview before they took my course. And what I tell people is, some people, when you post stuff on YouTube, it's kind of like Russian roulette. You don't know who's going to be commenting. And some of the interviews we've done, which are just so inspiring, we get a lot of positive feedback, but there's always somebody who's like, 35,000, that's nothing. It's like, first of all, somebody's 20 years old. Like I have one of the 20-year-olds in Indiana, he's making $40,000 a year. He's getting $20 an hour. That's insane. Yeah. He's got no college debt. He lives in a city where the cost of living is relatively low. So he's like a pimp. And someone will say, if you lived in New York City, that's not. It's like the point is, that's not the end goal.
Absolutely.
Even if somebody's making, what I tell people is like, if someone wants to pay you, $10 an hour, I was like, if that's your very first gig and you learn, then do it for a few months just to get the experience. But, most people are getting paid more than what the average college grad is making. And if you're going to make 30 to 40,000, which is already a great achievement, that's not the end goal, because like I said, the heading on my course says, learn how to get a $60,000 a year job in digital marketing within 1 year, because nobody's getting 60 grand out of the gate. But once you have that experience on your resume or the entry level job, that is the type of salary that you can be getting, is about 50 to 60 within a year. And that kind of like growth is insane, because I have this one student in the UK. We just published the interview on Engineered Truth. He got hired at a company, and I think he was making 28,000, and this is pounds because he's in London. And I think within a few months, he messaged us and said, now it's up to 38.
Wow.
And I said,
That's exponential growth right there.
It really is. And the other thing for people listening is, if you go to indemandcareer.com, and if you opt into, for the free course, or go to my YouTube channel or Matt's YouTube channel, you will see testimonials, like people who have taken the course and had success. We don't even approach them anymore. They just come to us because they're so excited that they want to talk about it. And so these are like real people. We have their LinkedIn accounts, and you can message them and actually talk to them. And it's pretty cool.
Dude, right on. I mean, I know on the show we talk a lot about, there's a company called Praxis, which helps people build a better career without a college degree as well. And, their participants are getting an average salary between, 40 and 50,000 a year after they're done with their apprenticeships. And these are people that a lot of them don't have any college debt. And obviously, like you said, that isn't the they're not going to be in that job for the next 10, 20, 30 years. But to be able to be making $40,000 a year, no debt, entry-level job, I mean, that's pretty incredible. And like you said, you could just use that to leverage to something else once you start building up a portfolio and developing, networking a little bit more, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it, man. Let's plug your course really quick. Where can people find out about this and all that info?
Just go to indemandcareer.com, and you will. That's the page for the free course, the free mini course, where I go a lot more in depth and I show examples of these types of jobs and what they actually entail, and that's where it all begins.
That's awesome, man. Well, we're getting close to the end here. I do have a couple questions for you. I like to ask every guest before I let them go. But the first one is, what parting advice do you have for any of our listeners who are thinking of dropping out of college, but they haven't quite made that step yet?
That's a great question. I would just say first of all, if you're having doubts because of social pressure, it's really great. Like, listen to this podcast, not to plug you, but I mean, listen to the stories of other people who have done this so that you don't feel alone. I think that's probably what people feel a lot when they're thinking of dropping out, is there's so much pressure and so many people are giving you shit. And remember that it's your life. No one else's life. You have to get up in the morning and look in the mirror. It's your face, your everything. So no matter what anyone's saying to you, you can say in your head to them, screw off. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on podcast, but that's one thing. And then focus on mindset training. I ignored my mindset for many years. I learned a lot of skills. I learned a lot. I had a lot of different experiences, but learning to create mental fortitude and a positive attitude and all that kind of stuff. The universe, not to get too metaphysical, but the universe really does provide for you when you have the right outlook. And I think it's very important to take that on, especially if you're going to go against the grain. You really, it's a really great opportunity to build up your mental fortitude. Because you lose some of the comfort. You lose a lot of the comfort and the acceptance and the sort of, the kudos of people. Oh, you graduated. Oh, that's so great. And you give that up, but you get something much deeper out of it, I think.
I think you're absolutely correct there, man. I mean, we have something called the Successful Dropout Creed, and for people listening, you can find that up at the top of the front page of the website. And it's basically a creed that I would encourage everybody, if they're thinking of, say, for example, dropping out of college and taking your life and your education back into your own hands, like you were just talking about, Seth. I would suggest people read that, because it really does sort of outline, like, this is the kind of commitment I'm making, and it's a commitment to what is going to be a more ultimately a more challenging and more uncomfortable lifestyle, for a while. But it's you're living like no one else now, so you can live like no one else later concept. It's going to have a much better payoff, and in the end, you'll be miles ahead of your peers.
Absolutely. And let me interject one thing just to get you reminded me of this. So I've done a few videos on my YouTube channel. I actually was in the middle of another one. I want a lot of like what you just described. I don't think it has to be that hard either, because the real fear people have of dropping out and not having a degree is a lot of emotional nonsense. You're going to live in a van down by the river or something.
Right.
But one of the big concerns that seems legitimate, but it's not, is this idea that you're not going to get a job without a degree, or that hiring managers are going to spit on you. And the reality is, let's say you did go to college, you got your degree, and you majored in English, or like 99% of these majors, which have no correlation to a job, other than engineering, and if you're going to go into medicine or something.
True.
So you're going to be, if you're just looking to get a job, just because you need to pay rent, and we've all had to do that, even to support your entrepreneurial desires. You basically, we're kind of fed this fantasy that, this pile's for college grads and this pile's for non-college grads. And you're applying for mostly, if you look at the statistics, I actually have screenshots in one of my videos, it's mostly administrative work, mostly even restaurant work. Like what kind of job is available for a history major? They're not working in the history factory. They're going to be working at some kind of administrative job. And when you go to apply for these jobs, if you're going to do that, in addition to your, you might jump right into entrepreneurship, but a lot of us need a job just to pay the rent. Understand that the degree is just a little speck at the bottom of this resume. It's so insignificant. When I moved to LA, I had my NYU degree at the top of my resume, and the temp agency person gave me a new template and sat me down and said, "You have to put this at the bottom because nobody cares about your degree. They want to see your work experience." So even if you don't have a lot of working experience, that's what I teach in the course, is how to actually generate your own experience. But you can communicate your intelligence and your value to a potential employer or company without a degree. And not just through your resume, your cover letter. I'm telling you, the biggest problem young people have today, and I've said this when I was teaching film, is writing. There's a huge weakness on articulate writing. So if you can just write an intelligent letter, intelligent communication to somebody at one of these companies with proper capitalization, proper grammar, believe me, you would not believe sometimes I will have taught someone all these skills, and I have to say, you have to use Grammarly, dude, because you sound like a 10-year-old applying for this job. But if you can write a letter and even you can even explain why you don't have a degree and what you're doing instead with your life. I mean, don't give them your life story, but focus on the company. I'm just saying there's ways to communicate your value to an employer without this stupid little BFA at the bottom of your resume.
I mean, you're learning how to market yourself essentially as part of that.
You can just talk like the thing that's so funny is the irony is these employers are getting so pissed off at these graduates because they're so out of touch with the workforce. You show up with the right attitude, with some work experience, with no degree, they will prefer you than the clueless, entitled college grad who is like Facebooking instead of hustling. Yeah. And so anyway, I'm just saying don't it's just such a little thing, but it's that don't be dissuaded. You can do it.
No, I mean, you're right on, man, because you're touching on something that we talk a lot about on the show, which is the process of auto-credentialing or self-credentialing, or I call it indirect versus direct credentialing. Because really all a college degree is, it's just a signal to the workforce that, hey, you've accomplished some things and now you're kind of ready to be a responsible adult and hold down a job. But it's losing its value. It's losing its return on investment. And so, this process of direct credentialing is what I call it. Indirect credentialing is like a third-party institution like college, saying, hey, this person studied all this stuff and now they're ready for some sort of job. Direct credentialing is actual experience you have, in the realm of the field that you're maybe, for example, looking for a job in. It's building your own credential, building your own signal. And I think one of the best ways to do that practically is to, I encourage people to start a personal website, even just starting a blog, start putting out some creative content. And then whatever you're doing, if it's digital marketing or videography, start showcasing your projects on your website. And so, when you approach an employer with that, like you said, at the end of the day, it's about the results. And if they're lining you up next to somebody who has a college degree and you don't have a college degree, but you have this practical experience, this direct credentialing under your belt, and the person with a college degree does not, guess who they're going to pick.
Absolutely.
But right on, man. The last question I have for you, Seth, is what parting advice do you have for any of our listeners who have already dropped out and who are already on their entrepreneurial journey?
I think it would be similar to the advice for people who are considering it. But so as like advice for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, say somebody who's in your position, or maybe the position of one of your students or one of your recently graduated students.
Right. So what I would say, and even speaking to myself a few years ago, the keys to success in my experience is, number one is focus. Mm-hmm. It's really easy to get distracted and or overcommitted to too many projects when you're in the entrepreneurial world. I
can attest to that.
So that, when I started out trying to build websites and make money from affiliate marketing, I had like 20 websites. I actually just met someone who said he has 25 websites, and I realized he's not having success. So, the things that always worked for me were the ones I put my heart into, and that's kind of a really hard mental thing when you're starting out, because you're in that you got that energy and almost a frantic energy of wanting to achieve something, and I think they call it shiny object syndrome.
Yeah,
internet marketing. So one of the things I would say is pick one thing and put all of your energy into it, and that's how you grow something. Mm-hmm. Don't hedge your bets with 3 or 4 different projects, or you're just going to spread yourself too thin. And the other thing is very similar to what I said before, the mindset stuff. I ignored that advice for 10 years. I just wanted to know the best technique, the best system, the best trick for Google rankings or whatever it was I was working on. And I ignored my mindset stuff, and I just kept screwing up. And when I took it seriously, when I started to really take my mindset seriously and start to get, I mean, there's a lot of different resources, and I had a few resources that I looked into. I'm a convert really to the whole law of attraction thing.
Yes.
The word has become very, like, I think, overused and oversaturated, and it's lost a lot of its meaning. And there's a lot of really deluded people who talk about it, but it's accurate. It actually does, like, your intentionality, your focus, how you feel about things. It really does affect your success. Mm-hmm. And I think, as a younger entrepreneur, it's almost like when you need to hear it the most, you're almost the most resistant to it, or at least I was. But it's definitely an overlooked part of entrepreneurship for some people, because you get too caught up in like how you're going to make shit happen. Having the right mindset while you're doing all these things is hugely important.
Yeah, I mean, it's a general seems to be a general rule of life that you kind of get what you put into the world. You get back what you put into the world. You get back what you put into the universe. Thoughts, actions, words.
It's absolutely true. And let me. So here's what's interesting. So I teach this course, and it is across the board, verifiably, so full of real actionable information. It's getting results. It's just got so much of the how to do something, right?
Yeah.
So what I noticed is that the students who have the best attitude have the most success right out of the gate. It's across the board. And I don't even tell them, I don't say anything about mindset, or I didn't in the beginning. But there are students who, even if they got like 3 interviews, they're so excited they got these interviews, which is what they should be, because some people aren't getting any interviews. And they don't get, 5, 6 jobs. They don't get them. But they keep their attitude in the right place, and then they get the job. And it happens again and again. And then I have students, it's much less percentage. It's very rare. But I actually was just interacting with someone who come in with a bad mindset. They're whiny, or they're like immediately discouraged if they don't have success within the first 2 weeks or something.
Right.
And it's just, and I've actually turned a couple of these people around. One kid was being such a pain, and I saw a little of myself in him from when I was younger. And I said,
"You're like,
and I said, I had to kick his ass. And I said, you got to change your attitude, man. Cause he had like 10 interviews and he didn't get a job. I said, at that point, it's you. It's you, man. And, but then I said, I've had people who just, people we get really lost in money and figures and business. And, there's a lot of constructs, but it's just people connecting with people. And one of the things about job interviews, or even just freelancing or selling a product, getting a client, is that people are going to connect with you, and people actually can sense each other. We can actually sense you. And it's the weirdest thing, because like I'll have times where I'm feeling so great and my sales go up because I know people can sense that. But that's maybe a little out there for people, but just think of it this way. When you're in a job interview, think about your body language. That's something people talk about. It's like your body language communicates everything.
Yeah.
If you have body language, or even on the phone, people can hear things in your voice. If you have body language that says, like, I'm excited, I feel good, I know I'd be a great fit, or whatever you're thinking, people can sense that. And if you have an attitude of like stress and and like desperation, people can sense that too. Yeah. And that's where a lot of the sort of unspoken challenges of entrepreneurship come into play. The mental game of it.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Like you already said, is kind of like nuanced, and for some people it could be out there, but man, I'm just totally right with you. I mean, I've seen time and time again just results that I can't really explain logically, but they come from the power of like you said, having a positive attitude when it's tough to have a positive attitude, or even just the simple act of I say certain affirmations for myself every morning, and I audibly say my goals every morning. And just the act of writing down and saying my goals, it literally makes it like 85% percent more likely that they're gonna happen. Even when I don't even see a way immediately for them to happen, I'll look back at the end of the year and be like, oh my God, I accomplished this, this, and this, and XYZ goal. It's this intangible power that I think we all possess, and it's hidden in our especially our thoughts, but also your words and your actions and your body language. And to be able to get your mindset right and kind of turn that power on, there's nothing like it. And I think it's really sort of this hidden secret weapon that we all have that we all need to learn to use. I mean,
absolutely.
I remember my mom telling me if I'm ever on the phone with somebody, to always smile when I talk, because they can hear the difference. And
yeah,
it's kind of true.
It is true. And people are more, it's true. And I love that you said because that's happened to me too. I've set goals, and I look back, like this year, I look back and was just like, holy crap. I say people overestimate what they can do in a week, and they underestimate what they can do in 5 years.
Yep.
And so, what I did in 5 years, like total turnaround, not only career and financially, but, I shot this movie, just like everything came together. And so I think that would be the one other piece of advice I would give to an entrepreneur, or a couple other pieces of advice is, number one, don't compare yourself to other people, especially successful people, because if it helps motivate you, that's like, it's cool to like say, oh, I want to be like, Steve Jobs or these types of well, he's dead, but people who are successful now. But it can also put undue pressure on yourself. And if you get that attitude of like, oh, I need to have my business up and running by next Thursday, you're just going to drive yourself crazy. So, I would say set the goals, but also be very liberal with the timeline. Understand it's a process, and that's, that leads to more success. Because like you said, if you're just consistent with it, like you said, you look back in a year and go, holy crap. Yeah,
I remember it was like for 2 years straight, every morning. And of course, I'm not superhuman. We missed some mornings, but every morning that we remembered, and which turned out to be most every morning, my wife and I would get up, and we have kind of a morning routine that we work through. Part of that was looking at a vision board of sorts. We just made kind of a board on Pinterest, and one of them had like pictures of the future home we wanted to live in and our dream location. And just 7 months ago now, we were able to move to our dream location in the mountains, kind of back where I grew up. And it was crazy because I was sitting in my home office up there, and it's kind of this loft on the top of the house, and it has these kind of cedar. It's got like a cedar ceiling, and it's a vaulted ceiling, and there's kind of it's a longer room, and there's a window at the end, and it's kind of looking over a view. And the day after we moved, or somewhere around that time, it just hit me that I was literally sitting in like a picture that looked exactly like one of the ones we had up on this Pinterest board. And
wow.
And there were a lot of other, like, tiny things that, it's just, this is something I had visualized for like 2 years straight. And it wasn't until we moved that I started to realize, like, and we moved, like, we're still looking to build a house up there. We're not in like a permanent location that we want to be long term. So, it looked a little different than we thought, but for the most part, it's like, holy cow, like, how did I even get here? And you look back, and, it ended up being a foreclosure opportunity. We moved up there, like, we thought we were 5 years out from this, and got to move, 7 months ago. And so, like, I'm always reluctant talking to people about that because it sounds really woo-woo, and I'm not really that sort of person. I'm a pretty analytical thinker, and I question my beliefs constantly. But there's just something powerful about having a consistent mindset like that, and things like, writing down and saying goals or affirmations, and things like a vision board. Because for whatever reason, these pictures I've been looking at for years just started to manifest all of a sudden, into my life. And looking back, Absolutely. It's just like, it's incredible.
It's great, man. And it's funny. I think it's good if people like you and I can share this type of insight and kind of normalize it for people, so it's not, because I was turned off. That's one of the reasons I resisted. I didn't like The Secret or any of this stuff. I was like, it just seemed like a bunch of BS. So I kind of missed out on some of the principles that are grounded in science, in scientific, there's studies now, and I think I saw a really good video about, the, sort of the mental, psychological reasons why focusing on these things is so powerful. I personally do also believe in and resonate with some of the more metaphysical aspects, but just from a practical standpoint, I just tell people, hey, what you focus on grows, and that's just how it is, because people who have a shitty attitude just tend to have more shitty things in their lives.
Yeah, I mean, and there are definitely scientific reasons behind some of it. I mean, one of them it's literally filters that you set up in your brain. It's the same concept when you buy a new car, you start noticing that same car, that same color everywhere. Right. It's the same concept of when you're in a crowded room, you can't make heads or tails of what everybody's saying around you because there's too much going on at once, but somebody says your name like, hey, Seth, it could be on the other side of the room, but you're going to hear that because your brain has set up a filter for your name. You're going to hear Seth even when people aren't trying to say it. It can just sound sort of like Seth.
Right.
They can say death and you'll be like, what?
I've heard many a variation of that on like Beth. But
Beth.
That reminds me, the other thing, since we're talking about this, for advice for entrepreneurs is, be careful about who you associate with when you are starting to be an entrepreneur. I don't mean be like paranoid, but I mean is if there's someone who's going to like crap on your ideas or what you're doing, either don't talk to them about what you're doing or avoid them. I would say you don't, I had an experience where my mom actually, I started telling her about my film site, and she actually was really critical of me. And that actually made me so angry that it actually gave me the energy to complete it. But
wow.
It can also, I could probably go more into that in another time, because it was now my mom is very supportive of what I do, but at the time it was really devastating. Like it could have been really devastating if I didn't have that. I believe anger can be used really powerfully if you direct it right. But I know a lot of people who are, they get into entrepreneurship and they just hear, oh, you dropped out of school and this and that, you're going to get so much, crap from other people. I was like, you don't have to take. What's that?
I said, avoid that, man. Get out of those environments.
Yeah. Or tell them. You can tell people if they're shitting on you about this, you can just say, stop. Yeah. I don't want to talk about this. You don't have a right to, judge or criticize. I don't want to hear your opinion. You have the right to say that. You don't just have to get shit on by people, because they will do this. People love to do that. They'll, celebrate somebody and, kiss their butt because they graduated and got this stupid piece of paper, the Scarecrow in the Wizard of Oz, and you're off there trying to do something real and you're taking a risk, and they're going, oh, you shouldn't do that. So, just saying, you don't have to you don't have to take it. That's what I'm saying,
Oh man.
But oh man, we probably talk for another hour, but I'll.
Maybe we'll have you on for one of our shorter Friday episodes again. I like where this is heading, but yeah, Seth, man, it's been a pleasure. What's the best way that people can connect with you?
I don't know if you have a link, but like I said, indemandcareer.com is, okay. If you opt in there, you'll be on my email list, and you can email me from that address. And I think I send you my LinkedIn link from there. And you can search for me on LinkedIn too, and I usually connect with people there.
Good deal. Well, successful dropouts, you are the average of the 5 people you hang around the most, and you've been hanging out with Seth and Kylan today, learning what it takes to drop out, grind, and succeed. For everything we talked about today, head over to successfuldropout.com and type Seth into the search bar, and the show notes will pop right up. And as always, stay hungry, stay foolish.